Hello, welcome to Tigers, blah, 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 blah. We are back with football. I only wish it was good news that we could be talking about here, Rich.
Yeah, I mean, is it too late to consider points per game as a method of finishing the season?
No wonder the
Oh no,
lads
wait,
wanted
we'd still go down now.
that. We would now. There we go. That's Rich Walker, my host, as you can hear. And
And my glass is very much half empty.
yeah. We've got a few things we're going to talk about today. We're going to split this. We're going to do it a little bit differently. We're speaking with Rich before the show, and he's come up with this idea, and we're going to
Well,
do it.
yeah, I haven't come up with it. I mean, for anybody who doesn't know me, which is most of you, I am a fan of the Edmonton Oilers in the National Hockey League. And there's a podcast that I listen to of theirs called The Cult of Hockey. And the hosts of that podcast have a nice format for their post-game recordings, and we're going to nick it.
Yeah, we are. If somebody has a good idea, we won't steal it. We'll just adapt it because it's a similar structure, but we're going to go with.
There's nothing new under the sun. That's the thing.
Exactly. Yeah, we're going to have the first thing we're going to do is we're going to try and talk some positives, aren't we?
Yeah.
We're going to talk about the good. And Rich will pick something good, and then I'll pick something good, and we'll have a chat about that.
I think there were two. There were two good things across the entire game. So
Yeah. Then we'll talk about the bad, and I'm sure that'll be a longer segment. And then we're going to pick a number. Just for reference, your number is, Rich?
My number is. It was 11, wasn't it?
It was 11.
My number is 11.
Your number is 11, and my number is 34, which is also our age. But it's nothing
Thanks
to do
for
with
that.
it's nothing to do with how old the hosts are. It's something completely different and a bit more depressing. So
Yes, more depressing than the aging process.
and that in itself is pretty depressing, isn't it?
It's better than the alternative.
Well, true. So that's what we're going to do. We're going to do a good, a bad, and a number. So we'll be back very shortly with that discussion. Right, okay, so we're going to try and have some positives to this podcast. I know that the mood has been, well, if you followed social media, Rich, I'm sure you have.
Yeah, I was more active than I usually am after games on social media yesterday.
Yep. The mood seems to be particularly despondent.
Yeah, which is fair.
It is fair. I don't think, I'm not criticising City fans here. I genuinely think they had some hope going into the game. With, the injuries that we'd had, and now we've had players coming back, and we've only supposedly got committed members of the squad now playing, and all of that. Maybe that's something we'll get to later on, but we will try and start with something good. It didn't last very long during the game, but we're going to pick a couple of positives. I'm going to let Rich go first. He'll tell you what his positive is, and we'll have a chat about that, and then I'll go with mine. So after you, mate.
Okay. So I think it's probably the obvious positive out of yesterday, given the way that the actual game went. But for me, it was Angus MacDonald was the positive.
Okay.
Not without touching on his performance. It was great to see him back on the football pitch. After everything that he's been through, he's had an awful time with us. Through injury and illness and what have you. So just to see him back in a shirt and back on the pitch for City was, it was a really nice moment, and I imagine it would have been a very special one for him.
Yes. I was surprised, I'll admit.
Yeah, very.
The starting 11. We talked about this before we started recording, didn't we? But I had said when we had Bobby Haggraft on last week, and we did the preview for the Charlton game basically, and we said what team we would pick, didn't we? We agreed on most positions, I think, and actually we got maybe about 6 or 7 right. Some of those names were then kind of thrown into.
You say we got them right.
Well, okay, we got the choices the same as McCann. right is probably the wrong word.
Yeah.
But some of them that we had in there, then 5 days later they're not signing new contracts. So that's not particularly, But we did say when we talked about that maybe McDonald would have a big part to play. Now he was back to full fitness. We knew he'd played some of the pre-season friendlies before the restart of the league.
Yeah,
and it was maybe it was a move by him, McCann, to say this is a big lift, and
I think that's what he was looking for. He was looking for the intangibles. I mean, we found out after the game, didn't we, that Reece Burke was he was injured, was he? Or was he unwell?
He was on the bench. He'd had a knock, and I don't think he was 100%. So
yeah, that was.
I understand why he wouldn't want to risk Burke because he's an important player. And if McDonald is closer to full fitness than him, I understand why he did that.
That's the thing. It was great to see him back on there. And I don't think his performance was, he probably one of our better players. I don't think he did much wrong. I mean, there was some awful defending for the goal, but then again, George Long was more at fault than anybody else. Yeah, I mean, see on McDonald's Twitter account today that it was 672 days since he last played a game of football.
Wow, that's mad, isn't it?
Yeah, it's a huge amount of time to be away from it. So for him to come in and I didn't think he looked a million miles off the pace.
No, I don't think he did that badly.
No.
I mean, for all Charlton, they looked pretty dangerous on the counter-attack, particularly the first half. And maybe that's something I'll get to later on. I don't think it phased him so much. I don't think it was him who was out of position. I think sometimes the poor deliveries of set pieces was our own downfall. Because when you have a corner and then 10 seconds later they're almost scoring a second, questions need to be asked. But I don't think it was particularly of McDonald or Device. I don't think either of them had a particularly bad game. Neither of them were brilliant, but I don't think they did anything particularly wrong.
No, well, I mean, you could, like you say, you could look at McDonald maybe for the goal that they scored, but I mean, we were speaking just before we started recording that you don't fail on those things as individuals.
No.
There's a number of causes on that. One, we failed to defend the near post corner.
Which is schoolboying it, really.
Yeah, I mean, how many times have City drilled a corner into the near post this season?
Yeah.
Any team worth of salt is just like, nah, that's rubbish, lads. We'll defend that all day. We don't. Gets flipped on. George Long, he seemed to be...
Flaps at it. I mean,
it was like he was caught by surprise at the fact that it come on from the near post, and he's timed his jump horribly. Like when a forward would, like, they get up above the ball or something on a header or something like that. It was like Long had done the goalkeeping equivalent of that, and he timed his jump all wrong. And this is one of the things, like, when people criticise goalkeepers for punching balls.
Yeah.
That would have been the thing there for me. A big punch, get it away. Don't
two-handed, just get rid of it. I think he was maybe caught in two minds, but I mean, if you're trying to look at, in fairness to him as a goalkeeper, you'd expect that first near post corner to be fucking got rid of, wouldn't you?
Well, exactly. So that's what I'm saying. Like, fail to clear it at the near post. Your keeper's made a mistake in picking on the flick on or picking up the flick on, and then we've got John Sorrell, Angus MacDonald, and Tom Eaves all at the back post, who are all
flat-footed,
all beaten to the ball.
He wanted it more, didn't he, Pierce?
Yeah, he did. So it's hard to single MacDonald out there.
Yeah.
I think the reason I picked him for a positive is purely for the human side of it.
I get that completely. I mean, it was a lift. I was shocked when I looked at the team news, and I was like, "Fucking hell, MacDonald's playing." Didn't expect that. And then, City fans are quite optimistic. It's like, oh, it's brilliant to have him back. And it is, nearly 2 years, really, in it, without proper football.
Yeah. And let's not forget that he'd had an awful time with, his various ailments before that as well.
Yeah, it was a blood clot first, wasn't it?
Yeah.
He was seriously ill there. And then obviously the other news is it's great to see him back. It is great to see him back. And
go on. Result aside, that would have been a lift for the squad.
Yes.
they'll all be buzzing for him, and you could see it today on social media. I think like even lads who aren't at City anymore were sending him messages on social media and stuff. So
Yeah.
that would have been a huge thing. And I think given the way that the rest of the game went, it's really, like we said, probably one or two positives that you can take from it.
Yeah.
Which leads us on to the second positive.
Yes, I went with substitutions, which I think maybe, I don't know if you think that's maybe an odd one, but
no.
I mean, we've now got 5 subs, which I don't think helps the situation a lot of the time.
No.
I don't know if you agree with that. I think having more subs complicates matters.
I do agree with it. I think it makes it hard to maintain a flow.
Yeah,
in the way that your teams play,
particularly
when you are struggling to find your feet in the game as well as we were.
I also think that if you've got 5 subs, you feel pressed to make them, even if you don't need to. And I can
see why they're being allowed them, because it'll prevent a number of injuries.
I do get that.
I think like teams in the Bundesliga and La Liga have found that although the players have been able to keep physically fit, because there are so many, I've seen them referred to as like micro movements that you make in playing a game of football that you don't necessarily make on a treadmill.
Yes. I mean, you're twisting and turning, going everywhere, and there's always. I mean, look at that Leno injury yesterday.
Yeah,
just a freak landing, wasn't it? I mean, you can't prepare for things like that, can you?
Well, Arsenal fans would have you believe that you could. But I think their vilification was it Mopé that
Mopé he did nothing wrong, mate. I know we're talking about City right now, but that's ridiculous to blame him. I mean, I love that. I love seeing it because obviously Guendouzi had been giving it all game, and he'd then gone, well, learn some humility, mate. That's what happens when you're big-headed and you shit. I absolutely loved that from Mopé. I loved it. And
I don't think he actually did anything. I didn't think there was anything to love.
He went towards him at the end. There was kind of laughing, taking the piss, and then Guendouzi grabs him by the throat. So he'll get a ban. And it just made me laugh, really. He did name him just so he didn't get in trouble. But then he just said, he's giving it all game and he's French. So it was like, well, there's only Guendouzi. But yeah. I mean, if the substitutions, if we get back to City, I know it's very tempted to talk about other things, but
do we have to talk about this?
Yeah, why did we do a City podcast? I had a stupid fucking idea, didn't I?
Your idea, mate.
My idea it was. Sorry. He brought on a couple of bright sparks who I think need to be used, and I think I will. Get to it later on.
I thought George Honeyman was brilliant.
You're just fishing for bites there.
He
didn't do out wrong.
No, I tell you what, he was better than Kane, and he was better than Batty.
He was better than both of them. I agree with that.
Yeah.
But again, that wasn't saying much, was it? Because them two had a fucking stinker, didn't they?
Yeah.
I mean, we both praised Batty last week. Said
he looked knackered.
Passing was brilliant.
He looked absolutely knackered.
He couldn't pick his own arse out with both hands, mate. It was shit. Every time he tried the long spray ball, I mean, I don't know if it was just that Wilkes couldn't be asked to get there, but he didn't even make him half the time, did he? But the two lads that came on, I really wanted to talk about. Maybe 3, actually. When he brought on Scott.
Yeah.
I can see Scott is going to be a handful for defenders, and that's what we need. And I think we need to use him more. He also linked up really well with Elder.
Yeah,
he linked up well with Elder. The only good deliveries we had into the box were from the left-hand side. It was either him or Elder.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that could be a partnership that could work. So that was a positive, and it's good to see somebody we've signed who then got injured on his first fucking training session, finally back to full fitness. Well, as close to full fitness as he can get, and we'll need to use him, won't we? I mean, he looks skillful.
Yeah.
When you look at how he was for Motherwell, he was obviously liked there and very well rated. So I'm sure that there's things to come from him. I'm not going to pin all my hopes on survival on James Scott, but I do think Scott looked decent in the time that he was allowed to be on the pitch.
I mean, he didn't see an awful lot of the ball, did he? But
no, he didn't.
The couple of opportunities where he was given it, he did look like he could.
He tried to beat defenders. He tried to do something different.
Yeah,
and he was always on the move. So I liked that. I also thought Keane Lewis Potter looked sharp when he come on.
Mhm.
on another day, maybe he takes the chance that he had. It was a half chance and it was difficult, but he had more chances than Tom Eaves did, and he only played 15 fucking minutes. So I don't know if that was just the way we were playing. I mean, I'll get to the other striker later on, but I do think Keane Lewis Potter was somebody I would be playing more of after seeing that performance, because I know that Keane Lewis Potter was one of the ones that we said I would bring him off the bench, and again, me and Bobby were talking last week. We did say that we don't think McCann would go with that. We think he'd come off the bench, and obviously that is what happened. But I mean, really, can it get any worse? At least Lewis Potter tried, or looked like he was trying. You know.
Yeah, I mean, I would hesitate to kind of say at least he tried, because I think saying things like that is kind of like the hallmark of the Twitter mess.
Well,
But he did look bright. I think one of the things that would have helped him was having a partner.
yes.
And I know we've mentioned Tom Eaves a couple of times, and it's one of the things that I said about Eaves last week was that he tries, but all of his efforts are just in
They're in the wrong areas,
places.
aren't they?
Yeah. He gets so frustrated. We'll get to him later. But if we're on about substitutions, I thought Josh McGuinness came on and did very well.
Yeah, I mean that was my third one. I thought he did well. The graft was there.
Yeah, without looking like a goal threat, but I don't think that's his game.
No, I think
which is
he's
a good
more
job
of
because he doesn't score goals.
I think there'd be a shout of putting him and Lewis Potter up top. You know, if we go to a 2 or.
I think they would just. I mean, even if McCann were to, carry on ploughing his own furrow as he has done all season, and retain the same formation and tactics and stuff. From what I've seen this season, McGuinness seems to understand the role of the striker within that formation better than Tom Eaves does.
Yeah.
So, although he doesn't look like scoring very many goals, I think he is more suited to the way that Cam wants to play.
Yeah, and so those were the three that came. I mean, Honeyman did okay, but like we've said before, the midfield.
He put himself about a little bit more, and he looked to me,
Was it him or Batty that would have had the shot if it wasn't for the block? Because there was a last-ditch block from somebody. I think it was Honeyman who tried to have a go.
I can't remember.
It was Batty.
I can't remember, if I'm being honest.
But the other one was...
I'd taken to drink by that point.
The other one was Samuelson, but I think it's unfair to try and judge him because he barely played. He came on, 80 minutes or something?
He had so little time on.
Yeah. Although, from what I have seen of him, I think maybe he wasn't lucky not to be starting.
He looks all right. I mean, the thing with him is he just looks a bit like a child.
He does look very lightweight and very young, doesn't he? He looks about 12. But I don't know. Obviously, the starting lineup. Well, we're always supposed to be talking positives here, but he must have realised fairly quickly, McCann, that this ain't working, and he did change the system. He used all 5 subs, and the subs that came on, they tried to make a difference, and some of them looked quite bright and maybe promising for next games. But I was clutching at straws to think of anything else to really say that was good about that performance.
I genuinely don't think there was anything else that was, positive about it.
Yeah.
Which, we all either listened to it or watched it for £10.
And you just had Burnsy in the background.
I know. Yeah.
It was like getting double commentary.
Yeah. I mean, I enjoyed the commentary.
Yeah, I did. I thought they did a good job. In fairness, Tigers TV. I thought.
God almighty. The lack of options for positives. I enjoyed the commentary. Fletch did a good job, and I liked Brian Hughes. Yeah.
when you're saying that the commentary from a Scouser was decent. But he
was very intelligent. Let's not do him down for where he's from. We get enough of that. So leave him alone.
Yeah.
Leave Britney Spears alone.
Leave Britney Spears alone. One of the things that I was thinking about putting in the positives, but we were only going to judge it on the first 10 minutes, was Terrell, because when we started, I thought, oh God, here we go.
Yeah,
he had a shot that was deflected back from a corner, then his header was close, and I thought, here we go. But then straight away, Bowyer was quite apt one day and went, right, I'm dropping Pratley on him and man marking him and see if he can get the ball then, and he couldn't.
I mean, yeah, Darren Pratley did a good job.
And that pains me to say it because I hate him.
On John Terrell, but I don't know if now's the time that you want to talk about Tom Eaves.
I'll wait till the next segment, I think.
Yeah, well, that's one thing that I wanted to say about Tom Eaves was the impact that he had on John Terrell's game.
Stealing his space, you mean?
Yeah, yeah, pretty much. Yeah. I'm sure. So yeah, we'll maybe talk about that in a minute.
Yeah. Well, so if I think we've exhausted the good. Now we'll go.
Still did 20 minutes on the good. That's not
minutes. Yeah, so we've managed. We've done all right then. We've managed to spin the bullshit. Right. I was just getting up as well because obviously now we're talking about the bad things, and you'll go first. But when I talk about mine, there's a few quotes from the manager that I wanted to talk about at the same time. So I was just getting that up. So, okay, your bad thing from the game. You had a lot of choice, Rich.
I did have a lot of choice, which is why it's harsh to single out one person.
However,
you know, that is what we're here to do.
Indeed.
And I don't think there's any player that is undeserving of criticism. But I'm going to focus on Josh Bowler.
Yep.
Because he was appalling.
I was raging watching him. Honestly,
I mean, to be fair to him, a lot of his approach play was tidy.
Yeah.
You know, he was looking particularly.
He was trying to face defenders up, and
early in the game he was
won a free kick a couple of times, and
looking to take men on and make things happen. But his pass selection and his shooting was awful.
What was that second half? That free kick?
Yeah,
near the halfway line. Did it go in Rosette?
No, it just missed the area entirely.
It was out on the. If it was playing rugby, it was out on the full, wasn't it? It didn't even bounce.
I don't know what that means. I don't watch that.
It went.
I don't watch that rubbish.
It went out. It went out without even hitting a player, even going in the area. I mean, it was just a hopeful punt that was awful, wasn't it? And that summed his game up, I think.
But the thing is, I don't think it was a hopeful punt that he was looking for. I think he was genuinely trying to put it in the box because nobody gets a free kick in that position and just thinks, well, I'm just going to wang it. Yeah, I'm just going to welly it as hard as I can and see where it goes.
That's what I thought he was trying to do from that.
I don't think he was. I just think he got it horribly wrong.
It's some feat, isn't it, to overstretch the area from where he took that free kick from, because it was down the near side near the halfway line.
His manager would have had a good view of that one. I mean, the other one more than that irritated me was in the first half where he'd done really well to beat his men on the right hand side, and he kind of got close to the goal line, and rather than
squaring it,
putting it across the area where you don't know anything could happen. You know, you've got runners coming into the box, or you've got defenders looking to clear it, and if you get a good ball,
might get an own goal in.
Corridor
of uncertainty and all that.
Yeah. But instead he chose to shoot near post,
and it went in the side netting, didn't it?
It was never on.
No. Because he did well, actually. I remember that chance. He went from about the halfway line, beat a couple of people, got to the byline. You think, oh, hello. And then he went and shot. I'm like, from that acute angle, is that he joking? Is that what you're going to do there?
I think it was Terrell arriving late into the area, and you could just see
Terrell was fuming, and I'm not surprised, to be honest, because
he'd have been frustrated with himself, wouldn't he, and everything going on around him. But like I said at the start of this, it does seem harsh to pick any one player out for criticism, given how poorly the team played. But I think
you could look at Wilkes as well on the other side, because he was kind of very similar in his end delivery. The end product was poor from both of them.
Was it
left the ball behind a couple of times?
Who was the fullback that Wilkes was playing against? Was it Matthews?
Yes, the bald one.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
think it was him.
yeah,
But I thought they did a very good job on Wilkes defensively.
yeah. They
Um,
knew how to. They showed him inside, and he's got no other foot.
yeah, yeah.
So,
But again, touching on the Tom Eaves thing, how many times did Tom Eaves come into
oh
Wilkes' area
no,
of the pitch and crowd him out? And
it's just it's if I was Terrell, I'd be just telling him to fuck off, go back up
yeah,
front, because you
occupy
need to be that option.
occupy your centre backs.
Yeah.
Stop coming into my area of the pitch and
He was doing the same thing again. He got told off, didn't he? Him and one of the Charlton players. The ref was having none of it because
yeah,
they were all
just
tussling, bustling.
wrestling with them.
It was about 15 minutes in, and it's like, what are you doing? You're doing this again. This is Eves I'm talking about, obviously not Bowler, but
Yeah,
what are you doing? I mean, if you hadn't guessed, Tom Eves is my negative, so I suppose you can talk about Bowler and talk about Eves at the same time, because we
yeah.
just have one long chat about them both. But watching Tom Eves just made me so angry. And I was trying to cover the. Obviously, I covered the game for one of the websites that I write for, which is Vavel. And I was trying to so I was watching the game and then simultaneously blogging across, like you would do for the BBC updates. It's similar. So every time there's an incident, you're having to type it, and then it's a live feed and it refreshes, that sort of thing.
Yeah.
But every time I was going, right, what is Eves doing? Why is he there? Do you know what it reminded me of? And at no way am I comparing the talent of either, but it reminded me of what Ben Arthur used to do. When Bruce used to play him as a 10, he used to drop even deeper than Huddleston and get the ball because he was that fucking greedy. He used to do that all the time. And obviously, he just wanted the ball. He was just so greedy, wanted the ball. And the difference is there, what Eves is doing is he's trying so hard.
He's so frustrated with the lack of quality.
He's not getting the ball. He's having shit crosses to him. And
it probably links in well to what we said about Bowler, doesn't it? The fact that the ball's not getting across to your striker means that he's going looking for it.
Look at the size of Tom Eves.
Yeah.
Look at the size of him. And when we've got a free kick, look at the size of McDonald and Jordy Device. Look at this. I mean, we've got some physical presence there. Mm-hmm. You'd think that they'd have worked on corners and set pieces since they've been back training. Surely. I mean, that's should be one of our main things that we threaten from, because we had enough fucking corners.
The thing is, we have, who took one yesterday that was
it was fucking Herbie Kane.
No, there was one in, and it might have been Kane, and it was I think it was the very first.
Was it when Terrell headed?
It was Terrell's, yeah.
The first one.
Which I think, generally, even when we had Bowen and Grzycki, our delivery off corners has been appalling.
Yes.
I don't think we've got anybody who could put the ball in the box.
No, well, I mean, I haven't seen. Again, we'll come back to him, but Scott looks like that player because he's not a tall guy, is he? He's not somebody that you want to be winning headers in the area.
No, I wouldn't. I think
so. His dead ball pieces. I mean, I haven't seen him do it. I mean, he's not been on the pitch enough. He's only played for 20 minutes for us, but
you're hoping here.
You're hoping somebody. I mean, we've not got anything good, have we, at the minute in terms of delivery of corners? You'd have hoped that he could maybe add that bit of quality, because you want the ball at the penalty spot, don't you? You've got
in between
tall defenders
area or 6-yard box and the penalty spot in between that, so you've got something to attack.
But it's just not going there, is it? It's either swinging too high and wide and to the back, or they're just heading it away the near post. Near post again. We said that before about the near post corner, that is easy to defend and we couldn't do it. But if your bread and butter people, they'll just head it away straight away, and nothing annoys me more. And I mean, if I was a centre back, going all the way up for a corner and then it not even beating the first man or beating the front post, fucking grind on me. It's so frustrating. The same for Eves as well. I know I'm saying Eves is the bad thing about it, but it's more of his performance. I'm not faulting the fact that he doesn't try or anything. It's that he's not doing the right things in the right areas. He
not
should
playing
be
intelligently
in the box. He should be battling defenders in the box and putting himself about and maybe getting pulled down, getting a penalty.
Yeah, not even necessarily just a penalty. It's like we said last week. It helps your defence out if you're winning free kicks, not giving them away.
Well, that's what Irvine used to do. Again, we said this last week. Irvine used to do that. He used to kind of come out wide a bit and hold the ball up and either win a foul or just kind of settle it down and pass it back to the midfield. I mean, one person I think we did miss yesterday was De Silva. I don't know about you, but
I don't know what difference he would have made to it, if I'm honest. He, I mean that said, Batty and Kane were not good.
we'll see.
Um,
If you'd have had De Silva and Stewart, you can't go back and say, "Oh, well, it would have been different." You don't know; it probably wouldn't have
yeah,
done.
yeah. I guess you're right. Were he available, he probably would have played, and it could have been a different outcome, I guess.
Yeah.
Um,
Because that was the weird one for me. I didn't know why he was left out, and in the end,
he was ill.
He was ill. Yeah, but that wasn't made clear until later on, was it?
No.
Let me just read you this thing from Grant McCann. I presume you either listened to his final whistle chat.
I listened to it on Humberside and
right.
wasn't overly impressed.
So listen to this. This is our manager. If I didn't have any hope of staying up, I wouldn't be sitting here talking to you. We've got plenty of hope in the dressing room. We know that the players will get better the more we train, the more games come on. Just today, I think the difference in the game was a set play. Well, I'm sorry, Grant, I disagree. The difference in the game was not a set play. The difference in the game was we couldn't defend a basic set piece.
The thing is, he can say that the difference in the game was a set play, but
it wasn't,
for me.
Was it?
Well, it was ultimately. It's the goal that they've scored has been from a set piece. But
it goes deeper than that,
if he's saying that after the game, as an almost like it's like a flippant comment. It's like, well, the difference was a set piece. We are one of the worst teams in the league for conceding goals from set pieces.
Yeah.
We are joint 8th for conceding from set pieces in the league. We've conceded 13 goals all season. So if he's saying that the difference in the game was a set piece, yes, it was. And it's been a difference in a lot of games in deciding.
Why haven't you worked?
Why is it? I mean, they will have worked on it, but whatever he's doing, he's not good enough. He can't say the difference in the game is a set piece.
And then listen to this, right?
And think that excuses the nature of the performance, because it doesn't.
No, it
because
doesn't.
We should be focusing on getting the defending side of set pieces right.
He went on to say the following. I think in terms of the whole game, we were in control and the possession stats back that up. Now, I'll get back to that in a minute because that really winds me up.
Points are awarded on possession, aren't they?
My analyst has just told me the entries into the final third, everything about that. We just didn't find that killer edge. Now, the last bit I agree with, we didn't have a killer edge. We also didn't have any fucking delivery. So it's all right getting into the final third. If you can't cross a ball, you're not going to get anywhere near the goal. And the other thing is, possession, like you just said, possessions does not win you football games. It's all right having the ball, but at no point, I don't know if you're the same as me, at no point did you ever get out of your seat thinking, we've got a chance here. The only one, maybe, if I'm being generous, was Terrell's header, which was kind of close, and the other was Batty's shot that was actually on target.
Yeah.
Which was a superb miss kick from, I think it was Bowler before.
No, it was Pennington.
Oh, was it Pennington? Right.
Well, yeah, that was the only other thing that got me off my seat. It was like,
yeah. It was like, yes. Oh, no, never mind. And then we've got another corner. It doesn't matter because we can't take them anyway. And then he said, I thought our in general play, we did pretty well. I think the most disappointing thing for us was our set plays. And he went on to say about the attack. In an attacking sense, it wasn't good enough because we didn't score a goal. The story of the game is that they have one chance from a set play and score. That's not correct because they nearly scored a second and they could have had a third as well.
The result wouldn't have been worth the result, but they could have had 4.
Yeah, they could have done. In every goal, there's always 2 or 3 mistakes, and that was probably the case today. Now, he says, where was it? If we go back here. In an attacking sense, it wasn't good enough because we didn't score a goal. Now, I looked at the stats on this, and if you look at the times where the team has failed to score, we are top of that table for failing to score. 35% of our games this season, we have not scored a single goal.
What's it been? 1 goal in the last 7 hours of Championship football, and that was a consolation at Stoke.
It was De Silva, wasn't it, against Stoke? And before that, we had 4-0 at Leeds, 1-0 Barnsley, so we didn't even score there. And I think the other one was Was it Reading? We
Yeah,
scored at Reading.
yeah. The last goal we scored that was worth anything was Tom Eaves against Reading.
Yes. And I
Or
mean,
was it? No, it was it's a 4-4.
4-4. Yeah. Tommy Eaves
Swansea.
did score that, didn't he?
Yeah,
Did Tommy Eaves score the equaliser, I think? Because
yeah, he
that was
did.
the game Maddison scored. I know that.
Yeah.
But anyway. Now,
Was
if
it
he's...
Swansea?
Swansea was the 4-4 one, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, that game was mental because it really had 0-0 written all over it. It was just two teams who couldn't defend.
Couldn't defend. That's the thing.
Yeah. But when he says in the attacking sense it wasn't good enough because we didn't score a goal, when he says that, it's almost like oh, well, we've done all right in the other games, but it was an off day today. That's not the case, is it?
Yeah, it's not.
Look at that stat.
At all.
35, over a third of your games this year, you have not scored a goal. So what are you going to do about it? Really? Is that's what he's going to say? Is it? Oh, the story of the game is they have one chance and they score from a set play. Again,
that's all it takes against us. That's all it takes.
It's easy, isn't it?
Yeah.
I mean, how ludicrously easy was that goal for Charlton? It was just awful. And then, I mean, it was very, very nearly 2-0 5 minutes later. How somebody didn't get on the end of that?
Yeah, it was
you've got a set piece. It was, wasn't it? I mean, to be fair, I thought Charlton, as much as it pains me to say it, but I think Charlton did it spot on, didn't they? They knew exactly what to do, and all the players were
textbook away performance.
Yeah, it was, wasn't it? Yeah, they shut up shop. They knew exactly how to do that. They frustrated everyone. They let us have the ball because we knew we wouldn't do all with it.
Yeah, that's it. You know, we can have as much possession as we like, but if you don't look dangerous with it, what is the point in it?
No, it's all. And again, it's all right him saying, "Oh, we've had." That was the other thing. Sorry, I was going to come back to this. He said we were in control, and the possession stats back that up. Now, I can show you possession stats, mate, where a team's had 80% of the ball, but they've lost 2-1. It doesn't matter about how much possession you have, does it? Because the majority of that was McDonald to Device to probably Batty, and then where do you go from there? You couldn't. There was no real movement. And when Bowler did get the ball, and you thought, oh, let's get it on Eves' head, nah, because the delivery was poor, and it wasn't just him. Again, I don't want to single out Bowler too much, but it was just. Did you ever feel like we were going to score? Because I didn't. I genuinely can't see us getting another point. No, I don't know if it's just me being really, really pessimistic, but I can't see us getting another point.
Yeah, I think that's probably like the fog of a bad performance.
Because I suppose you're judging it by if they play like that, which you'd hope they would.
Yeah, I mean, we don't know. That's the thing. We don't know what situations the games are going to throw up, so it's impossible to predict that. It looks, it does look bleak at the moment. And going back to your point about possession, it's like I do think that the more you have the ball, the better off you are.
I always thought we were a counter-attacking team. Anyway, when we had Grzycki and Bowen,
that's the thing.
Left 3 up, didn't they? And then as soon as we got the ball, we punted it out to the channels. We had a chance of scoring because either of them had cut in or...
Yeah, and that's, possession for the sake of possession is not it's not a good thing. If you have the ball, you should be looking to do something with it. I'm not convinced that we were always looking to do something with the ball. And like you say, when we've been a successful team this season, it's not necessarily been because we've had it. We've been good at counter-attacking, which, all right, we don't have the luxury of being able to do that now because we've sold the players that, gave us the ability to set up like that.
It was all through Bowen, and then when Grzycki could be asked, because as good as Grzycki is or was for us, the way games just faded in and out. It was if it could be bothered, wasn't it?
Yeah, I don't know about if he could be bothered, but the way games where he struggled to make an impact. I think, and I was critical of Grzycki's attitude a lot of the time as well, because sometimes I thought he played for himself rather than his teammates.
Yeah. I wish he still played for us, though.
Yeah, but that's it.
It's that extra bit of quality.
Yeah, and there were people who couldn't see that quality. But when he's, now that we don't have him, I think it's painfully obvious.
Yeah, he's gone to West Brom and won't get in their team, which is such a shame, isn't it? Really, but
he was on another level to anything that we've got.
Well, he was far better than he was too good for us. Just like I'm surprised Bowen didn't go before, because I think there was chatter of loads of teams in for him, and then nobody ever went. I was hoping to get to the end of the transfer window and he'd not go, but obviously that didn't happen. But I do think if you're trying to play that way, the only other option you've got, I mean, we talked about Keane Lewis-Potter last week, but Keane Lewis-Potter is probably more of a second striker. Maybe putting him out wide as a right forward and Scott as a left. They could try and imitate what Krzyzewski and Bowen did. I don't think that's necessarily the way forward, but if that's what McCann's going to stick to, and I think there's probably other points that we can get to about formation and stuff in the next thing when we look at the numbers, because obviously we've chosen 2 numbers, haven't we? Mm-hmm. And we'll get to that very shortly. But if he's going to try and say, especially for the away performances, I'm going to do it exactly the same as I've done it, even though we've not got the players to do that. I think with Lewis-Potter and Scott, at least you've got something that they could at least attempt to play the same way, if you get me. I'm not saying there'd be, we'll just swap him for him and it'll be the same, because it won't be, but at least they'll try and play in that style. I don't think Bowler and Wilkes, I mean, Wilkes beforehand was our top scorer since in 2020, wasn't he? Because he'd scored 3 goals in 8 games. He just didn't look on it, did he? And I don't know if the other thing is, I saw this point on Twitter, and I think maybe later, if I just go through a couple of comments, I'm not going to do it now, but there's been quite a few things on Twitter that we've had done to the Tigers Blair account, which have been quite interesting. But one guy said, I can't remember who it is, and I'll try and find it for later, but he said, what does it say when you're playing 4 of your loan players, one of which may not play after the next game? How do the contracted lads feel about that?
Yeah, that was something I thought about, was
because he's played Herbie Kane, he's played Bowler, he's played Pennington, and then he's played Wilkes as well. They're all on loan, aren't they?
It's something that he's harped on about all season, is wanting players that are committed to Hull City.
How committed are they going to be
don't want to dredge up the Marcus Henriksen argument, because it's not necessarily one that I think, I don't think Henriksen would have made an awful lot of difference to us over the course of the season, but it's, fact remains that he's a better player than some of the options that we've got.
I still obviously him and McCann didn't get on, did they? I mean that's the top.
I don't know about that.
That's how it seemed to me, looking back on it.
We
don't know what goes on, do we?
We're only guessing. You don't get an awful lot of change in press conferences out of Grant McCann on these sorts of things.
No, well, there'll be a part of mine, won't they?
Yeah, and of course Henriksen's got his own story about the way things went. He'll have been very frustrated because he'll have wanted to play, or he'll have wanted his move. I have every sympathy with him, because we should have never taken the option up on his contract. Should have allowed him to go. And we're getting off track here, but what made him any different to any of the other players that we've allowed to walk away on a free transfer? I don't know.
No.
But yeah, getting back to the point, it's like he said he wanted to play players who are committed to the club, and we know now that Wilkes' loan deal's not going to be extended. So his last game could be next week against Birmingham.
Yeah.
It's like you say, then you've got other loanees out there. But I don't know. I don't think he's getting. If it comes off, it looks great, doesn't it? But that's the way it's going for him at the minute.
I mean, there's just one tweet that I've got up here that is kind of linked to what we're talking about, because I read the McCann quotes out. Paul Phillips on Twitter has put, his team results speak for themselves, but McCann, with his bizarre post-match comments, comes across as totally arrogant and out of touch. Even after the Brentford and Stoke debacles, he refused to say we were poor. He's totally deluded and needs to go. I'm not one for shouting for managers to be sacked. I will say that. But I think something...
Realistically, is it an option now?
That's the thing, isn't it? I don't think with 8 games to go, I don't think that is an option. But I think
games
something
are
needs
going to come
change.
too fast to, realistically, if we were to get rid of the manager, you're looking at somebody coming in who might miss the next 2 games, getting to know his players. And
yeah. I mean, the other thing is money. I mean, are the Lambs going to spend the money? I don't think they would.
Who's going to come?
I mean, if you have somebody
Warnock's name was mentioned on the radio yesterday.
He's not going to come, is he?
He wouldn't touch us with a barge pole.
He won't go anywhere near us because he'd want too much money to start with. That's one thing where he'd always want to be paid handsomely and he'd want a bonus if he kept us up. That's not going to happen. I don't know if I'd really want Colin Wanker in charge of my side, to be honest.
No.
I don't know. I mean, I know we want to stay up, but I just don't know if
with the
somebody
players
like that.
I just don't. McCann I said on Twitter yesterday, he's been dealt a very bad hand, but he's played it very poorly. So I'm not going to sit here and say that another coach wouldn't
do better, or
yeah. But at the end of the day, you still have to recognise that we have a very poor squad. I think that the manager is making that worse. I don't think there's a championship team there, if I'm honest.
No, I think we're very much League One. But on that particularly, optimistic note, I think if we then move on to our numbers section, which will be the last one, and then I think we can go out. There's some other tweets that I want to read out and kind of get your thoughts on, that's the bit I enjoy, hearing what people have to say about this and getting involved, which is really good.
Yeah, I think it's been a bit of a hive mind of the City fan base over the last day, hasn't it? Like we've all had the same thought. So.
Yeah. So right, well, we'll be back in a second. We'll do our numbers. Be back very shortly. Right, I'll let you go first, Rich. You have the number 11.
Yeah, number 11. Not Marcus Maddison, because he don't play for us anymore.
That's right.
Number 11.
He's just Twitch streaming any other game that Apex Legends or Fortnite or FIFA or whatever it is. He'll just be a YouTube gamer, I guess. Get paid handsomely for it. Good luck to him.
He'll be getting paid more money to do that than he was going to get to play out the rest of the season with us.
I mean, that's clearly the case, isn't it? Anyway.
Yeah.
Your number 11 refers to...
My number is 11, the number of home defeats we've had, which is not only the most in the Championship, it's the most in the entire Football League. Us and Southend have been beaten 11 times on our own patch.
Yep. Doesn't exactly stink of Fortress anymore, KC, does it?
No, it doesn't.
That's what it was.
Yeah. Under, Nigel Adkins, we had very good at home.
We did have a good record, yeah.
Yeah.
I miss him, actually. Did you ever think you'd miss Nigel Adkins?
No, if I'm honest.
But when you see what we've got now, and you just think he's not got exactly the same squad, but some of the players are similar. And I know he had, obviously he had Grzycki and Bowen, but he had much better shout of getting us in the playoffs last year. I know it fell away at the end there, didn't it? But
no, he wasn't given the horses again.
No.
What did we bring in? The Ridgewell.
Yeah.
Ridgewell.
Fresh out of MLS.
Yeah, it's like running through treacle.
Not good enough for MLS, so what do we think was good enough for us?
And Mark Pugh, who was very good, but again, we weren't given the resources to continue that push, so we're playing with a very small squad.
I think Queen's Park Rangers are going to release him, aren't they?
He's gone already.
Has he gone already?
Yeah.
I'd love to see him back, but I can't imagine Alams would stump up for him.
Yeah, he'd be on too much money.
Definitely, if he's at the Queen's Park Rangers, he's definitely on too much money.
Yeah, and they can't afford to pay him. So
no, that's it, isn't it? I think 30. I saw a stat that said 70% of their turnover goes on wages. Like the amount of money they still pay in wages, Queen's Park Rangers, is absolutely mental.
Yeah, I'd imagine there's a lot of Championship clubs in the same position.
Yeah, I mean, I know that when they were in the Premier League, QPR were particularly bad, weren't they? Because they had the embargo, didn't they?
Yeah,
they couldn't sign any. They could only have loans at one point, couldn't
they
they?
had those ridiculous deals with Christopher Samba and stuff like that. So
Anton Ferdinand.
Yeah, just absolutely crazy money.
But yeah, 11 games, which is, did you say it was joint worst with Southend?
Joint worst with Southend, yeah. And they finished the season bottom of the league as well.
Yeah.
So it's, not encouraging. And yesterday was, just symptomatic of our season. At home, we had a lot of abject performances. We've been beaten by a lot of sides that, if you hope to do anything in your season, you have to be beaten at home.
Yeah, we've won 6 out of 20 games at home. We've won 6.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We're not great away from home either.
But we're actually better away from home than we are at home. And
marginally better, which surprises me. And that's possibly got a little bit to do with the way that we were able to play on the counter-attack. And that goes back to our point earlier about
possession don't win your games.
Yeah, and when we've been allowed to have the ball, which you would expect us to have more of the ball at home, we don't do anything with it because we haven't got players with a little bit of guile who can unlock a defence. And yesterday showed that because like we've already said, we had the lion's share of the ball. We had 2 shots on target.
Yeah,
and one of them was outside the box.
Yeah, it was Batty's, wasn't it?
Yeah, so we're not breaking teams down. We're not a side that's set up for possession.
So we've played 20 games at home. We've won 6, drawn 3, lost 11.
I mean, that in itself is a telling stat. The fact that we've had so few draws in the season.
So what's that, like 55% of our games we've lost at home?
Yeah, we are not hard enough to beat, but we're also not good enough at grinding points out when we're not playing well.
The last 5, if you take the last 5 home games, obviously Charlton at home lost 1-0.
Yeah.
Leeds at home lost 4-0. Barnsley at home lost 1-0.
Yeah.
The blip is Swansea 4-4, which was just a crazy game, wasn't it?
Yeah.
And then the one before that was Brentford 5-1 at home.
Yeah, lost to Huddersfield 2-1.
Lost to Huddersfield as well. And then we also
lost to Fulham 1-0.
Yeah. It's very much 1-0 as a story of our season at home, innit? I know there's other blips and stuff, but then it's either we get trounced by the good teams, like Brentford are a good team, aren't they? Let's be honest.
Yeah, and we
the only one with Ben Rama who's up front and Ollie Watkins. I mean, you'd love to see them play for City rather than anyone else. But I mean,
fantastic result for them yesterday as well.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I mean, I don't I haven't particularly affiliation for Brentford, but they play good football.
Enjoyed going down there as well, or did.
Did until
they've left Griffin Park now. So
they've got a new ground built, which I didn't look overly impressed with that, in fairness. But obviously that's an exciting move for them. It should be. I mean, I remember what it was like when we moved from the old Boothry Park to KC, and it was excitement at first, wasn't it? It was really exciting times that. So it's good for them. I mean, the other really heavy defeat at home was Leeds United. And, the less said about the better, really. But the home form, as you say, 11 games lost. If you look at the other stats, where both teams have scored, it's 45%. So it's less than half where we've actually had more than one goal, basically. Or we've not lost by more than one. And then 35% of the games we've actually failed to score. So we've been nilled at home. That's pretty telling.
It's nowhere near good enough, is it?
No. And if you look at our away form in comparison, don't know if you're interested, mainly because I've got it up in front of me. We're actually mid-table when we come to matches played for away. So just contrast this with what we had. 18 games played away, so slightly less. Won 5, drawn 5, lost 8. And then if we look at
so if your home form is even marginally better,
Yeah.
You
Even
know,
if you match it, you're still
yeah,
mid-table, aren't you, rather than what we are.
yeah,
22% of the games away from home, we've failed to score. At home, that statistic is 35%. So you're looking at 10%, but that's like 3 or 4 games more where when we're away from home, it's more likely we'll score away.
yeah. I think it's very, very quietly becoming the story of our season. Um, the inability to win at home.
Yeah.
I think it's been bubbling away as one of the illnesses for this City side, and I think all right, losing Grzycki and Bowen has understandably drawn headlines as to what's going.
I think that is a massive part of it. It's not just down to that though, is it?
No, that's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
That's drawn headlines because it's an
Yes.
immediate thing. It's like
Yeah.
it's something you can
And
look
it's
back on.
your main goal scorer and creator.
Yeah, you can pinpoint it. That's a decisive moment. But this awful home form has bubbled away all season, and now it's crippling us.
Yeah. Because I mean, if you look at games like Charlton, that's games you should be picking points up. Even if it's a 0-0 draw, it's still something where we keep out the bottom 3. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. But
even if you're solid at home and don't score, you're like, well, we got a point. At least we didn't lose the first game. And actually, they've gone, right, what's he going to do? Right, he's going to play 2 in midfield. He's going to play 3 across. He play Eves up top, and Eves will just float all around. So the one player that they've got who's going to create something is Tyrrell. Let's stick somebody on him straight away. It was first for 4 minutes, wasn't it? Dropped in.
Yeah.
And then he's got no plan B because what should have happened there, and we all could see
change it. He refuses to change it.
We all could see it. We thought, ooh, first 3 or 4 minutes, looking all right here, guys. And then as soon as that's changed, what he needs to do then is change it slightly, isn't it? But he doesn't. And Lee Bowyer goes, thanks very much for the 3 points.
Yeah, he's just too rigid in his thinking.
And his changes are basically like for like.
Yeah,
his changes like for like.
It's personnel changes rather than system changes. I mean, that's one of the things that I was frustrated with yesterday, was when we're chasing a goal. One of the things I admired about Steve Bruce was he never left anything in reserve. Like
at least if we needed a goal, he went 4 up top.
Yeah, but we don't gamble on it.
We don't do that. I'd rather do that and concede another goal. At least, go in hammer and tongue, try and get it in the net. It was
Bruce
Marcus
Silva get beat with your boots on.
Yes, Bruce did say that. I mean, Michael Silva was kind of similar when, for that good, he did have a good spell at us, didn't he? I know it fell away at the end.
Similarly couldn't defend set pieces.
No, that's true. But we with that little band of random loanees from all over the place, we did get a good run going. And we did look like a good attacking team, I remember the West Ham game quite vividly. We were 1-0 down. Andy Carroll had scored because we couldn't defend. Set piece. Shock. And he went at half time. He oiked 2 of them out and put Markovic on one wing, Grzycki on the other, Nias, and then I can't remember who else it was up top. It could have been Mbakani, I'm not sure, but whoever it was.
Don't know. Don't think it was.
Whoever it was that he put up there, we ended up winning 2-1. And granted, it wasn't a forward that scored, because I think it was Ranocchia, who I saw play for Milan the other day. I mean, how random was that we got an Inter Milan centre half on loan, and he was good for us. But whatever he tried there, he went bold, didn't he? Silver in that game, and it paid off for him. And that's where he goes, right, well, my formation isn't working. What do I do? It could have not worked, and at least he's tried. But McCann does not do that, does he?
I think he's too enamoured with his own methods.
I mean, my number, just for reference, was 34. And that is the amount of goals we've conceded at home, which is the most in the entire league.
So there's definitely a pattern.
There is a pattern, isn't there?
Yeah.
And I wanted to read a tweet. There's a guy called Rich, obviously not you, Rich, but there's a guy who runs the Hull City analysis. Tweet. He comes out with some good stuff.
Yeah, good chat with him last night.
Give him a follow. Maybe we'll get him on in a couple of weeks. I don't know.
At Hull City Data, I think is his
handle. Yes,
handle.
at Hull City Data is his Twitter handle. And he's put, because I put out a tweet last night about basically, what are your thoughts on that? I think it started with Deary Me, to be honest, but
which is remarkably restrained.
Yes, indeed. He put, and this is a succession of tweets that I think both me and you got involved on. But he put, been toying with the idea for a while, but with injuries, etc., found it pointless to say anything. But it's not hard to change. That's the frustration. So he's talking about McCann's inability to do anything other than a 4-2-3-1. We have the players that can play at 3-4-3 and be more defensively sound. I saw enough today to know that, first of all, and then it's another tweet, Device, McDonald and Burke, when fit, obviously, would be solid enough to cope with being a back three.
Yeah, and you've got Reece Burke in that, who is comfortable bringing the ball out.
Yeah, he's ball player,
and so is Device, you know.
Yes, yeah. Elder and Samuelson could be good enough to operate the wide role, with Lopez and Stewart occupying the middle. KLP and Scott would then support Eves up top and provide a real threat. Eves is our best striker for dragging defenders out of position, even though he doesn't do that. He can do it, but he's trying so hard to get the ball. He's dropping even deeper than Terrell, which is why Terrell was so pissed off, I think. With his out position, with his size and technique, it'd work, and that's what frustrates me. And he also says, I have it in more depth, but you get the gist. And I wanted to hear it in more depth, to be honest.
Yeah, I would.
Yeah,
I would have.
So
liked to have heard it.
Yeah, so hopefully, if he listens, we'll get maybe Hull City analysts on, Hull City data. But he basically says, I'd then tweeted and said, I think, to be fair, why would you not go with that? Because it's not working what we're doing, is it? And maybe when you say if we go to Birmingham, right, on Saturday, if McCann tips up with a 3-4-3, Birmingham go, what the fuck, don't they?
Yeah.
They go,
the only thing is
predictable, McCann.
Your own players might also be a little bit that.
To be fair, and I know that is also always the counter argument that if you've got players that are used to being in a position, if you then give them a new position to learn with a week to learn it,
it takes a lot of hours in the training ground, doesn't it?
It does. But also, there's not a lot of players that be playing much different positions, and what's working now is not. So, would it be that disastrous if we tried to do that? I mean, maybe an away game at Birmingham is not the time to try that. But he also said,
but again, what have we got to lose? I mean,
that's it. Yeah.
One of the things about discussing formations and tactics that you would implement, in a general sense, I don't know how much good it does you, because these things aren't general. They're they are applied to very specific situations, and for better or worse, it's not like playing Football Manager where you can set and forget. It's like you need to make tweaks. These are real world situations, so that's the only thing with that. It's this is real life. Ultimately, they are real games. It's not, you can't just say I would do this and it would do that. It would work that way, because then the opposition makes adjustments to counter that, and it's about how you do that. How you counter their adjustments and stuff like that. We don't see that an awful lot out of McCann.
No.
At least not in a way that's obvious to me. He might be doing it very subtly, but then I would argue that he perhaps needs to be less subtle and a little bit more in your face.
Yeah, well, I'd agree with that. I saw another tweet that made me laugh. Java, who is Jarvinho, I don't know if you follow him on Twitter. He's quite active.
I'm not sure, but I've seen him on Twitter.
Phil Buckingham tweeted after the game, obviously, because he covers it for Hull Daily Mail, Hull Live, whatever you want to call it. Phil Buckingham.
Who?
He said, the narrative out of the HCFC dressing room is that Charlton had one attack and scored. The visitors missed some big chances, better than most created. So he's basically saying, look, I'm not quite 100% sure what McCann's trying to get at. And then the quip back from Java was, blimey, the data analysis guy must have the same vision as Dominic Cummings, which I thought was quite good.
Yeah, I mean, I did see that Phil Buckingham had tweeted that out, and I think it was more. There was more in what Phil didn't say in his tweet than what he did.
Yeah,
there was the criticism was definitely implied.
Yeah, Yes.
At least to this reader's,
Yeah.
or from my perspective.
Yeah. There's a couple of other tweets. There was it's DanMao31. He put lackluster, no desire. The players need to have the burning desire to win. I struggle to name one who really cares. Which maybe is unfair.
Sure I would.
Maybe he's unfair. But he then says some look like they are trying. The hearing the likes of Fagan and Furlan on your podcast previously, they would do anything for City and still would now. So I know that's maybe that's a difficult kind of agreement, like an argument to have where you've gone, oh well, they're not trying hard enough or they don't care. I think they care because I mean, you wouldn't. Players are surely committed. They've signed a contract to be either at that club until the end of the season, or they've got a contract that is later on. So I think
the trouble is it's not that there's any lack of care given.
He went on to say basically that Adkins' team looked proud and spirited. I used to leave the KC feeling like we'd give it a go and we're proud. Some top magical moments in games, and it just seems that has gone and it's been missing for a while. That's a bit more.
I did see that tweet. I remember reading it because I was going to reply, and I can't remember if I did or not.
I can't see on here.
But so. The point I was going to make was that Nigel Adkins' team had a lot of experienced professionals in it. Yeah. This one doesn't. What you have is a lot of people trying to find the way in the game, and they don't necessarily have a strong leadership core within the group to see them through. When times get tough and you do have to dig in, we don't have that. I mean, even Device, I don't think has played 200 career games.
No,
and he's our captain. So that's the thing. To say that some of the players out there don't care, I don't think is right. They might be cowed by the pressure. You've got a young manager who is evidently struggling with the pressure. I think anybody who listened to him on the radio after the game would say that. And I think when you're looking at the players on the pitch around you and you're not certain that you can trust anyone to perform to their ability because they're being, cowed by the situation, I think that's very difficult. As a 21-year-old, 22-year-old kid with 60 games under your belt to say, well, I'll be the one who takes this on, and the players that do are very special.
Yeah.
And we don't have those players. We
sold
them.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it's an interesting thing to think about though, that formation thing, because I mean, I think you said something about McCann seems married to his ideas, which is a nice way of saying that he's a stubborn person who obviously thinks his way is the best way, and there is no.
The thing is, he has to be like that to some extent.
I mean, yeah, I get that
to some extent, but I think it has gone beyond the point where now his ideas are beyond question.
Because everybody knows what we're going to do, though.
Yeah, if part of being good at anything that you do is that ability to question yourself and say, is this working? And evidently, it's not working now. To learn from your own mistakes, and maybe like we've seen it with other managers who come in and fail for City. And Phil Parkinson's maybe the easiest parallel to draw.
Yeah,
because he was a young manager and he's come from a League One side and he's finding his feet in the game. He said when he lost his job at City, with the benefit of time and further experience, he was able to see that what he was doing was too much. And
well, I think that's one of the things we had on throughout the episodes on the podcast where the players had worked under Phil Parkinson.
Yeah, so maybe...
Was it Laurie Dudfield said, no, I think it was Craig Fagan said he tried to change too much. Some of it was good. Some of it was a little bit too much for what they needed. It was too much too soon, I think.
Yeah, so maybe, McCann's had significantly more time than Parkinson did, but what I'm saying is that he's maybe still... He's too mired in the situation, for lack of a better phrase, excuse me. So really, he can't see the wood for the trees at the minute. He's too embroiled in it to be able to look at things objectively. And I think that's going to cost us.
Yeah. there's not it's not a particularly positive podcast this, but
No, but
I
it's
think
had to
it's
be. And
it's
if you've listened to an hour on
useful.
this, yeah, but if you've listened to an hour of a City podcast after a game like that, you know what you're going to get.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, one of the things that may be a positive, I don't know, is will Burke be back to full fitness next week? And then Leo Da Silva maybe would be another option because, I know he brought Honeyman on, but he's lacking in options, isn't he, basically? You've got Scott and KLP who's looked okay when they've come on, but I mean, what if we just look ahead just very briefly to the Birmingham game next week? If we're supposing that McCann shares our sentiment and thinks maybe I should change something, I don't think he will. I think it'd be fairly predictable what the team will be, but do you see him changing anything personally?
Maybe personnel.
Do you think he switches like Kane for Stewart and Batty for...
I wouldn't want to guess. I mean, our own guesses last week were so far off what we actually got that I think it's probably a useless exercise.
Well, it's more like talking about who do you think should maybe keep the place and who do I
think will come in. I mean, nobody's got a right to keep the place after that debacle, do they?
No, true.
So he could bring anyone in and he'd be justified in making the change. I think he should set up to attack it because Birmingham's home form is only just better than ours. They've got 2 more points at home than we do.
Yeah, I'm just looking at that stat now.
So that they're there to be got at.
Yeah, they've got 6 wins, 5 draws, 7 losses. They've drawn a couple more than we have, but they're only 2 points better off at home than we are.
Yeah, we've played 2 more games at home.
They have played 2 less games than we have at home, but
they're far from a strong side.
They're not out of relegation either, Birmingham. If there's
16th in the league, aren't they?
If you say somebody like Charlton go on a run, they're not far ahead. They could be dragged into it if they, they're not on the beach just yet, are they? No. So to speak.
No. And the way that things have gone since football's restarted without fans is that more and more teams are picking up points away from home compared to when there were fans in the stadium. So it could be one of those quirks. It's hope springs eternal, doesn't it? With the day after the game. But I think they're there to be got at. Whether we're the team to get at them, I don't know. That's another story.
Hmm. Would you change the keeper? I've seen a few people on Twitter talking about Long's done too many mistakes this season. Would you take that massive gamble and put Ingram in at this stage?
No. Personally, no.
It wasn't something I particularly thought about doing. It's just something I have seen on social media. Lots of people are saying that.
Long has made some very high-profile mistakes in our last few fixtures.
Yeah.
But then I think that was another thing I'd heard about football restarting was goalkeepers saying that they were struggling to pick up their rhythm because they haven't been able to do
the same training.
Yeah. So there might be an element of that. The other thing that I'd look at is that Long is one of the leaders in our squad, and we've seen that he's had the captain's armband.
He has, yeah.
In other games, before the break when Lehigh was injured. So do you take him out? It's another voice. Ingram's only played 3 cup games, and I don't know an awful lot about him. But I remember the reports when he came into the side from QPR. They were absolutely delighted to see the back of him. Do you bring in another? Yeah, and that might be what their opinion is worth. I don't know. Probably very little. Well, opinions like arseholes, aren't they, mate?
We've all got one.
We've all got one.
But we don't always need to see it or hear it.
So I mean, I don't. Do you bring him in and then you've got another unsettled player within your team, and you're just bringing in those kind of like little fractures in relationships that he has with his back four,
Yeah.
things like that. So it wouldn't be a move that I'd make.
No.
We criticise long goalkeepers are going to make mistakes. The thing is, when they make them, they're generally very costly.
Yeah, it's true. Very true.
So, I would err on the side of caution with that one.
Yeah.
Would you change it?
I think I'd change the keeper. No. If I was McCann, I would probably set up, like you said, to be more counter-attacking, and I'd be bold. I'd leave 3 up. So I'd have maybe if he's going to go. I don't know if I would go with Eves.
I wouldn't.
I think I would probably go with McGuinness, Scott, and Keane Lewis Potter. I'd go with a 3. And I think maybe if you say, even if you have the back 5 and you have wing backs, I think Elder would be a good wing back. I don't know about Pennington. I know De Silva has played right wing back before. That could be something that he thinks, but I don't know. I would go more counter-attacking.
Such a specialised position.
It is, yeah.
A specialised position.
But I do think we need to see Terrell getting on the ball more, because I think when he does get on the ball, we look more promising. And I would have Stewart in there. I don't know, really.
Yeah,
I don't think Kane or Batty did anything to, legitimise the chances of starting the next game. So I'd change the midfield, really. And I would probably change the formation, but I'm not paid to be anything other than the job that I've got. I'm not a football, manager, am I? Neither are you. But I think there's a lot of City fans that at the minute think, well, we need to change it because whatever we're doing is not working.
Yeah.
And it might be that this doesn't work either, but at least we've tried something different, and we may, unearth something where we think actually that player's better in that position, rather than just going, right, you're this player, but I want you to play a holding midfield, like he used to play Irvine in the wrong places, I don't know. Well, I don't think it'd get much worse than Charlton.
It can always get worse. It can always get worse.
We're in the bottom 3 for the first time this season.
Yeah.
We never looked like scoring, and we couldn't defend a front post corner. So I hope there'll be 3 things there that we try and put right when we go to St Andrews next week. I don't know if you've got any final kind of thoughts before we wrap up, but what would you think for next week overall?
Big sigh.
Just a big sigh.
Yeah, I don't know. At the moment, it's hard to see anything but a defeat, isn't it? I think the one thing that form counts for nothing at the moment, because nobody's got form.
No, that is certainly true. You can't go on about form 3 months ago, can you?
No, looking at Birmingham's last few results, they certainly look harder to beat than we are, because they've drawn 5 of their last 6. Whether that counts for anything, at the moment, I don't know. It's hard to see anything but a defeat at the moment. Like I say, they're not great at home. So
no, they're not. Their away form's much better, actually.
Yeah. Who knows what we'll get? But I think there's reason to think we can get something.
So their last 5 games they lost against Reading, and then these are the home games, obviously. Drew Sheff Wednesday, drew Brentford, which that's a good result. They beat Notts Forest, and they also drew Cardiff. So the last fixtures have been fairly difficult. But again, that was 3 months ago.
Yeah. So how much it counts for, you don't know.
No, it doesn't really count for that much, does it? Because they drew yesterday with West Brom, which again, that's a good result for them.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. So, I don't think all hope is lost.
No, we need to just start picking up points, don't we?
Yeah, we're running out of road here.
Yeah.
But, maybe we've got a couple of games now where we can pick up some points. If we're going to do it, then we have to do it bloody quick.
Yeah. I think that's a good place to end, to be honest. We need to do it bloody quick, pick up them points.
It's 2 big games, isn't it? Birmingham and then Borough.
Yeah.
Borough's massive.
Borough's the massive game, isn't it? Yeah.
Yeah, because they got absolutely tonked. It looks like it's us and them.
Yes,
the minute.
it really does. Yeah, it was the Barnsley.
Yeah. I mean, that 4 points is massive, but it'll quickly get eaten up because they look like they've got some life in them.
Yeah. Barnsley look like they're going on the up rather than down, don't they, at the minute?
Yeah.
So, right, well, we'll be hopeful for next week. We'll come back same time next week and hopefully talk about a positive result this time, but remains to be seen. We'll have to see.
Yeah.
Obviously, remember a couple of things we'll plug just before we get off. Remember, we're sponsored by Tigers Ladies, which is obviously Danny Johnson and his team. Very, very kindly sponsor us. Hopefully get the ladies team involved somewhere down the line once we get fans back in stadiums and stuff. We'll be playing North Ferriby, so that'll be good. And obviously ourselves, we're on Twitter, Tigers Blah. Your handle, Rich?
At Big Bad Walks.
At Big Bad Walks, and I'm Luke T92. So obviously the first place to get hold of us is the podcast Twitter account, but obviously we'll answer to those as well. Other than that, thank you very much for listening. And hopefully next week we'll have some better news, Rich?
Fingers crossed.
Fingers crossed.
Yeah. It's about all we can do.
It is. Up the Tigers.
Yeah.
See you next week.
See you in a bit.